I think we're up. I see me on the Twitch. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the Mattyzcast. Get things lit up. We're going to play for a couple hours here.
Off all the time. I'll, start it every so often to make sure I have good voltage and current. And I'll leave the engine off when I just want to sit and listen, do check band conditions, because,
back my compressor off a little bit.
Vehicles, period, are a very, very bad source of RFI. So
I think more mic, less radio.
That's my 2 cents, and I'm sticking to it. In P4AI
Tonight, today.
With your
still today. 3 p.m. Mountain Time.
So, following up a little bit on Brad, yeah, if you're sitting there listening, Brad has a radio that handles it. If you're just sitting there listening, turn your radio off before you start your engine. Take care, 73, bye-bye, KU0E.
AC0 TG.
0 IRL.
The two of you, go ahead, somebody.
Yeah, I was just listening to you guys. I just put my radio in my car, so I wanted to get a radio check if I could.
Okay, radio check, I have mine.
Radio check. Yeah, he's got his.
Problem sounds very good to me.
Sounds good. You're hitting the repeater good. Where are you at? I'll see if I can hear you on simplex. K0.
What up, Burge? How's it going?
I'll go ahead.
I'm in the same boat as the other operator. Just put the rig in and just making sure I've got my tone set correctly in the old 706 Mark II-G.
Hell of a good radio. Where are you at?
There's some a little bit of frying. You might be kind of weak in a weak spot.
Yeah, I know. It's so much better, right?
Don't worry about the frying.
Like my head's cold.
Some stations have that.
It's frosty. I feel the breeze.
I even,
But,
the guy that
look, I can move my head without, like, scratching my mic. Yay.
tells us we're timed out or gives the ID. He likes bacon and eggs, so sometimes we get frying on the computer. But I think you're in kind of a little bad spot, but you're doing fine. No problem.
Dude's chatting on the local repeater, listening in for a bit.
Well, you think you've got two operators here, one for a radio check. Was that trying for K0?
Yeah, that's our slow scan program.
Okay, let me see.
We got all of our pictures.
Hey, Brad.
Yeah, IRL.
And our templates for text overlays.
Where are you at?
225 in Island.
We're going to see who's out there, and then we're going to shit out some stuff in a little bit.
You should be doing a whole lot better than that for 225 in Island on a 706.
Sponsored by Tecate today.
Yeah, because I'm on an HT at 225 in Island.
I would recheck my antenna connections and my settings and such and nonsense. Because, yeah.
These old dudes are so confused by, like, new radios. Check your settings.
You're only about 50%.
They're used to, like, 40-year-old tube rigs. It's okay, they try, and they're nice, but technically they don't know much.
Okay, roger that. Okay, I'll back out and let you guys get back at it, and I'll mess around with this thing. See how it goes. K0 IRL clear.
Yeah, I'm over here at my house on an HT doing some antenna work. K0 LZD. It's close to you, Dark. How's he sound to you?
So the 2 meter, I'll duck this a sec. The 2 meter over here, this thing right there. We use an ICOM PCR 1000. It's basically a black box receiver. It's not an SDR. It's like a regular superhit receiver. It only listens to one frequency at a time. But it has no faceplate. It's all controlled via serial port. So we use this program called Trunk PCR. It's one of the only pieces of shareware I've ever bought in my life because it's really bad nagware. It works very well. So I got a bunch of stuff programmed in. Right now we just have a couple bands of repeaters programmed in. We're just camped on 145.145 because that's the busiest Denver repeater. So they're chatting and we'll see what's up. But we can scan around a little bit if they die out or get boring. But you can see when I hit scan, like, it moves pretty quickly. It'll do a good, like, the little green number there is how many channels per second it scans. So it'll do 13, 15. I've had it up to like 40. You can just set the delay, but sometimes it misses weaker signals if you scan too fast. So I set it around here. No, 219 is it's the top end of VHF TV channel 13, and I believe there's also some military traffic there. But there's a ham band at 220 to 225, but it's just a bit over. I can legally transmit on 420 megahertz. There's nobody down there, but that's part of the 70 centimeter ham band.
Oh, I spoke too soon. How much? No, we can't.
So yeah, I could transmit on 420.69 megahertz.
KU08 Comcast.net.
Oh yeah, where the fuck is my chat? Derp. Thank you. It's because I rescaled this stuff. Last night I was running 1280 with no resampling, and I moved it to
on the shelf
1920 or whatever, and then I downscale. There we go. Does that look better?
To Tokyo, Japan with it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, of course. Mr. Ed's a horse. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Cool.
You double with Brad, but send me an email. We'll get together on it.
Well, I don't have a way to write anything down. If you have a way to write something down, just take my email down. It's pretty easy, if you're ready.
All right, let's see what his email address is.
I
guarantee you it's not Gmail.
Stand by. No, I bit a hole in my finger. I got blood. No, I'm ready to write.
Alrighty then. My email address is my call sign, K1DEGHAM. One word, no caps. It doesn't have to be. At Gmail.
Oh! Damn, we were all wrong. Oh my gosh, he's actually in the 21st century.
Let me get one that scribbles, and we'll have to do that again.
I hear lots of AOLs, lots of Yahoos, and lots of...
that's fine. Was it MP4AI that I heard in there?
Like Outlook.com or whatever.
Yes, sir.
But no, this buddy threw us for a loop. Damn.
Well, while he's getting the pen,
High
I
tech.
wanted to say hello to you.
Yeah. KC4YLV at Comcast.net or whatever. That's the dope shit right there. ISP email. Good stuff.
Got the one here, and I think I just need to get it sent off to Midwest.
Alright, these dudes are a little boring, so we're going to kill them for a bit.
I hear you.
We're going to go over.
Alright, did you locate you a second pin over?
That's my PCR. Kill that for now.
I sure did. I got a...
You can see the light difference. I got that fucking, like, 3 by 6 foot window right behind me, so it's lit up like a damn fluorescent panel during the daytime.
Kilo 1 Delta Echo Golf Henry Alpha Mike at gmail.com. Hey, I did that pretty good, except for the .com part and all that.
All right, later, dudes. We'll check in with them later on. So let's go over to the other side. So this is the Slow Scan TV radio. Let me see if we can zoom in there. So we're on the 20 meter band. It's the most popular shortwave, or as we call it, HF ham band. It's open during the day usually. But that depends on the solar cycle, right? Like right now, since the solar cycle sucks so bad, we back this off.
What?
Getting the overflows there. Is it picking up my mic or something? I don't know. Anyways, the 20 meter band is the most popular for worldwide communication. At the bottom of the cycle, it kind of sucks. At the top of the cycle, which will be in about 5 years or so, it will be open like 24/7. But right now, it only works from like 9 a.m. to about 5 p.m. local time. That dude's transmitting voice, but he's like a little bit off. Alright, so let's see. I have a couple of different antennas that I use here. I've got just a simple vertical antenna. It's just 17 feet of pipe poking up off a chain link fence. That's this one. That's the memory channel. I'm on memory 99 right now, but we're actually using the VFO, which is just the tuning knob. And then the other antenna is a 135 foot long wire. It's fed from the middle, so you cut it in half, and then you put one side of your feed line to each piece of the half foot length wire, and then you string that shit up in a tree. Mine's up like, the middle is up like 35 feet, and the ends are up like 25 feet. So it works pretty well, but sometimes you want the horizontal wire, sometimes you want the vertical. So let's test and see, just do a sanity check on the station, see how much power we're squirting out. Turn my power up here. Oh yeah, wrong input. So yeah, by the way, how I control what goes into the radios, we have this mixer over here. It's kind of hard to see the whole thing. It's a rack mixer, but each one of these is hooked up. Well, this is hooked up to the input of the radio, the output of the radio, and then that scanner that we were listening to is over here. So how this works is if I pan an input left, the computer feeds it. If I pan an input right, the microphone feeds it. I think that's right. Yeah. We'll find out. Oh, we don't have anything going on here. I think I may need to close and reopen this. Hang on. Let's see here. Yeah, there we go. That's way too loud. Okay, so I need to pan right for the computer input. And we go back down to the radio, and we'll just send a test tone. Yes, we have considered taking screenshots of the slow scan TV and then sending that out as our slow scan, or taking screenshots of the stream and then transmitting that as our slow scan photos. The fun thing is that the shit is, the most common mode is 320 by 256 resolution. Oh, There's barely somebody in there. There he is. But yeah, the resolution is pretty low on this. There's a few 640 by 480 modes, but not really that common. See if we can pull him out a little bit more. Hey, it's Dave. I know that's kind of annoying, so I'll back it off a little bit. There we go. Dave is the op. What's up, OP? What the hell is that picture I sending? I see lightning. K7PED. Let's just note that right there. I don't know, it looks like a hot air balloon or something to me. I don't know. Some sort of, yeah. So one fun thing we can do is, let's bring up the monitor. Yeah. Oh yeah, see, nothing's scaled. Hang on. Okay. So this is my other monitor. Hang on just a second. Slight stretch. Alright, so there's a site, it's called worldsstv.com. And this is kind of an aggregator of a bunch of people that have like a bunch of automated cameras set up that auto-log this stuff. So Dave's pumping it out. He's got 4 or 5 stations that received him. Yeah, I can't quite tell what it is. I think it's a hot air balloon. I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, furry Atlas, nice. Let's see. Yeah, and here you can see the typical slow scan TV thirst traps. They love it. They love it. So a lot of these haven't been updated in a long time, but they've got like Euro ones and stuff like that. This one's the creepiest. She's like 12 or something. Anyways. Try to listen to that dude's ID. They usually send a Morse code ID when they're done transmitting, but they usually send it at like 25 words a minute. You don't have to because you're IDing in your image, but I usually try to catch it. Sometimes it's helpful. Alright, so let's see. I think they're done chatting. Let's go back to MM and I don't know, what are we going for today? Let me make sure that my transmit level is still good. Yeah, kind of bad match there. I'm going to retune the antenna here. Sorry, that's super annoying, I know. Yeah, that's pretty good. Alright. So, let's see what the output looks like now. Can't get a good match on this antenna, so I'm going to switch to my vertical, which doesn't need the tuner. I just put it in bypass. And then we should get That works. Cool. Alright, so now we just go to our pictures and let me clear the template first so we can see what we're working with. So I got some red rocks, Garden of the Gods. Yeah, you want to look up on the left on the radio. The three bars there. There's three of them, and you want the top one to be as full as possible, and then the bottom two to be as empty as possible. And that means that you're squirting out max power, and the antenna is well matched, which means there's not a bunch of reflected power coming back. Let's see if we can get... The thing about it, my mixer that kind of sucks is that it has little clicky detents, and they're at 1 dB increments, which is super annoying. So it's either too hot or too quiet, so sometimes I have to run and actually tweak the program. That looks pretty good. Alright. Yeah, exactly. We need like a 0.1, 0.2 dB increment on that, versus 1 decibel, which is like, I mean, 3 dB means your power is doubled. So 1 dB is like, I don't know, 20 or 30% difference. Yeah, I could honestly deal with a mixer with finer bits on there. And yeah, Scotty 2 is the most common, so we're gonna see what the deal is there. Before we do that though, I'm gonna fix my inputs, because that input's running a little hot. Oh, let me see. I'm just still doing an overflow thing, but I think that's okay. Alright, so let's pick a photo. What are we gonna send? I like to start out with something nice and chill. I like this one. I stole a Thames TV bump for this. That's like the Edgewater Waterworks. It was actually really hard to yeah, this one's pretty funny. Love that fake Chiron generator. Let's go for this one. And we need to actually tell them what we're doing, and we are calling CQ. We don't need to put our call sign up there because it's already up there. I like kind of the symmetry of this one. Alright, let's go. We're going to fire this off. I'm going to turn my monitor down because this shit is kind of squawky. So the radio actually transmits whatever's coming into the microphone back out the speaker out, which is how you can hear my transmissions when I go. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. You can see the scan lines coming down there. It's neither really. It's basically they just kind of made up their own algorithms like back in the late 60s, and then kind of developed some more off of those. Like they'll use different scan rates, which gives you higher resolution, or you can have shorter time to transmit, which is lower resolution, lower color depth, but it is all analog. And what basically, this is a frequency modulated audio signal. So like, You can see as the colors like shift, like you'll see different bands kind of pop up here. Yeah, slow scan TV has been around for like 40 or 50 years at least. There we go. And it's sent, and with any luck, we'll get somebody to respond. So one fun thing we can do is we'll go back to the spot thing, and we'll see if anybody actually picked us up. And this is slow and shitty, and it actually pulls all these pics from the origin little weblog type things. So sometimes you just gotta shift reload. Hopefully we're getting that a little bit. Takes a few seconds for them to register sometimes. Sad. Low energy. I don't think anybody picked me up on that round. Usually, this dude picks me up pretty well. Yeah, they keep a history of like the last few images up here on most of these. I'm almost okay with that one. Yeah, and that's like a 12-second SSTV mode. It's really fast, black and white only, or technically grayscale. But yeah, you can squirt out pictures pretty quick. That's about as fast as you can go. Is 12 seconds for a frame. So sad, nobody picked us up this round. Alright, I'm going to switch to the other antenna and try to tune it up. And let's see if we have any better luck there. It's kind of tricky to tune this sometimes, because this one's kind of weather dependent. It's a little weird. So, power at minimum, and then go off frequency a little bit so I don't bother people too much. And then, yeah, let's go over to my antenna tuner. Old reliable. So what you do here is you got two knobs. You have to find the best combo of the knobs, and those form basically a RF transformer that takes whatever random impedance the antenna feed line has, translates it to the 50 ohms that the radio itself expects. If it's not 50 at the radio, it'll like cut back power and you'll eventually explode your radio. So we use RIDI mode over here because it just squirts out a carrier signal. That annoying beep there. And then you switch this to calibrate, and I just turn it up all the way, basically. And that actually looks pretty good. See if we can get any lower. That's about right. And then for power, we got that much forward and almost nothing reverse. All right, this should work. So go back to 230. All slow scan is on 14.230 on this band. It's just our little channel. And then let's see, kill that, go back to this, and do a little test again, see how we're looking. Still a little bit of bad SWR there, but I think it'll be okay. Not quite sure why. There is like 6 feet of coax between the the radio and the antenna tuner, and that does change what each one sees. So you can have a perfect match at the tuner, but then 6 feet down, which is like, so it's like 2 meters, so it's like 1/10 of a wavelength at this frequency. It can be a little fucked up with the radio. So that's okay though. Let's just go Scotty 2. And yeah, these are all the different modes. Oh wait, you can't see that. Hang on. So these are all the different modes that you can select. So yeah, black and white 8 is actually the shittiest and fastest. It's grayscale, takes 8 seconds. And then you have these various families, and it's just basically different scan rates of the same algorithm, I guess you'd say. Most people use Scotty 1 or Scotty 2. Some of the PD modes are useful. You can see like you got some big chunky boys here, like PD 290. You can do it 800 by 616. It's a weird aspect ratio, but it takes 289 seconds to send a photo. So yeah, what, almost 5 minutes? But it looks real good. But yeah, we do Scotty 2, which is 320 by 256. You can tell this is all written in like 68, and they didn't know what a proper aspect ratio was. And it takes 71 seconds to send a picture. So we're all set up to transmit it on the other antenna, and let's just go. And since I'm recording this, you can actually take this Twitch recording or whatever, or YouTube eventually, and play it back with like a virtual audio cable, and download this MMSSTV program, and you can decode all these pictures straight off the feed. It should work. Even though I'm talking over it, you may see like some bands of like static when I'm talking, but for the most part they should come through. You can almost hear the different visual elements on there. Well, you can. Right now, we have 65 watts of power going out. I don't like to push the radio too much harder than that. Even though it's a 100-watt radio, this is a pretty continuous output. Oh! I think we got one, boys. Oh, we got 2 people going for it. All right. And you'll see the slant control kick in. Since everybody's sound card is slightly different off clock, you'll see that slant, but then it'll clear up. Yeah, we got one. All right, let's see who this is. KE7. You can see up in the top right, we do playback windows, so you can see like how your image was received on the other end. KE7UIH? What's the last letter? UIU. Sweet. Alright, so we type his call in, we click the QSO button, which means that we're in a contact. That's just for logging, so the program knows. So here we go. Let's find a nice photo. This one's pretty nice. And then we go to our templates, and we can actually chat. And the note here will get filled in. Good afternoon, old man. Nice signal in Denver. And then we click that, and we update. And Give him a 575. Turn off that noise blinker. There we go. And then we send again. GA is good afternoon, of course. OM is old man. Yeah, it's pretty sexist, but we default to calling each other old man till we know differently. And this is Jason. I just Googled him. D just means from. We just stole that from all the Romance languages. There's actually a lot of French and Spanish influence in the lingo and shorthand we use. Yeah, and it's really short in Morse code because D is dotted it, and then E is just dit, so it's dotted it, dit. Everybody knows what it sounds like. All right. And he's pumping in. All right, let's set up our next image and then let his come in. Let's see, let's do something fun. Do a picture of a kitty. And he says 73. So we're just going to do that one exchange. I sent a picture, he sent a picture, I sent another one, and then he said goodbye. So I'm going to say goodbye too, and that's okay. Let's do my 7-3 here. 7-3 means goodbye, we'll see you again, au revoir, all that. We do use a lot of shorthand. God, I thought that was like a clan hit at first. Alright, that works. So we'll say bye. Look at that beautiful kitty face. Not at all. I better not say it too loud, she's sleeping. I don't want her to wake up and start pawing at my leg. It drives me fucking crazy. And you can see it, or hear it get really busy here when we hit the text. And that's it. We made a contact. And we hit that button, it clears all the fields, and we're on to the next one. We're on a roll, let's fire another one. You can see, like, the program keeps a history of the last stuff you picked up. Oh, that's pretty nice. They love the ugly rainbow font, but it actually serves a purpose because due to the modulation we use, that cuts through like white noise really, really well. So even if you have pretty shitty like copy on somebody, that stuff will kind of pop. Yeah. Yeah, graphic design is definitely everybody's passion on slow scan. It's really good. Alright, let's go for another one. and then I gotta go grab a fresh cold one, and then we'll go on to some other stuff for the second hour. We'll probably go till 5 Mountain, assuming that there's adequate interest. I really like this kind of TV station style template. Oh. Somebody else is coming across. Yeah, their signal's all screwed up though, it's not coming across right. That's their fault, not mine. Martin 2, I haven't seen that in a long time. Is that a globe? Yeah, you can see it straighten out. Yeah, he faded out. Oh, it's a flower, I think. Actually, before we do that, let's go back to our world SSTV and let's see if anybody on the bots picked us up. Okay, so that dude sent a snowman picture, and this other station picked it up a little bit well. You can see, like, he retransmitted my replays there, which is cool. Thirsty. He doesn't have a straight link to his he's got a fancy blog behind his link. Let's see if Alberta picked me up. No, nothing. You only see the last one sent on these, so sometimes you gotta dig. Sometimes Texas do will get me. Yeah. So it looks like none of the bots actually picked it up, but that other guy did, which is cool. That works. Alright. So let's find another picture. These are my ones that I've set up specifically for the black and white modes. They look kind of weird when you send them in the color modes, but you know, they're good. Get some placeholders. Communist propaganda. Let's do it. I usually just leave it on Scotty 2. Scotty 1 looks a little bit better, but it takes like twice as long to send photos, and sometimes the propagation will fade out, and you won't get a contact, versus the shorter, basically 1 minute mode. Alright, let's go for another, see if anybody else has us. Oh, there's something barely in there, but I don't think we're going to be able to grab him. Maybe? Maybe that's a noisy one. Sometimes I can do a really fast switch to the other antenna to see if it's any better. Wait. They're in there, but they're not in there. You need a pretty strong signal to get good copy on these. So that background noise is enough to kill it. Yeah, they tried for me, but it ain't happening. You'll see it restart as it regains the synchronization signals. So sometimes you can get a fragment or one and figure out what's going on. But that's just barely enough. He's just getting his sync signals through, and the rest is just... That's what like radio white noise sounds like, or like looks like, when you run it through these programs. W something 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 S was his call sign. Again, they run that so dang fast. See if anybody else will pick it up. Give me a shout. Sweet. Let's go for Max. Max catchphrase here. I was so excited when this generator came out. I was like, slow scan images, fuck yes. Yeah, I also have this one. Cat 5, what up? How's it going? We playing slow scan. Sometimes if you send a CQ twice in a row in between somebody trying to get back to you, they'll like crank their power, switch antennas, and try again. We'll see if we get lucky. IKEA. Yeah, I saw the meatball pics. Yeah, lunch there sounds great. I don't know about shopping. What'd you buy? Anything cool? I can vouch for IKEA pretty much everything. That bed I got is real good. Here's the Martin II homeboy coming in again. Y'all need to calibrate your sound cards. Like, if you do it properly and you actually know, like, the clock offset, there's a little constant you can tweak on here. Is this dude I just talked to? Yeah. He's calling CQ now, so he's going for a contact. Yeah, I don't think anybody else grabbed me there. The bands are in shitty shape. Propagation varies from day to day, hour to hour. Yesterday it was pretty bumping in the afternoon, but I wasn't on Twitch. Today when I'm on Twitch, the bands are dead. I guess that's how it goes. We can back off the... Somebody's responding to him. Oh shit, I left work Slack up. Don't read any confidential information off my work laptop, please. If you can, you deserve it. OPSEC. W3BAJ or something like that. Dude, fuck that keyboard. Like, that thing, like, literally my F and my R keys, the hinges are broken. Yeah, I paid too many respects, I guess. But, they just kind of float around there. I need to take it to the fruit stand, because even if it's not still under Apple Care, I think it is. But even if it's not, work will pay for it, so. I use a Kinesis at work, so I don't really care when I go into the office, but here working at home, it kind of sucks. Though I do have like 900,000 USB keyboards that I could just plug in. But where's the fun in that when you can complain? Oh yeah, you can see here, this guy actually went for me, but I wasn't able to pick him up well enough, so he went for the UIU guy. UIU likes his jaunty angled text, doesn't he? Is that his truck? Yeah, I think it's his truck. Barely enough to pick it up. That dude's slant is really uncalibrated, really bad. Oh, truck versus motorcycle. I see what it is. Yeah, fade it out. Nah. Alright. Let's kill the audio on that. And, let's see. See if there's any scanner fun going on. See if anybody's on the repeaters. This is still working. It's still listening, and I can still send and receive. You just don't hear it.
For a call sign, but I found one that I like, so I submitted it for Vanity. Just waiting on the FCC now.
I like your thinking on that, Doug. Yeah, very cool.
That dude's just camped out on the repeater all day long. He didn't have shit to do.
Not many people can incorporate their name into their call sign.
Like Bill that does the QSL cards, W0BIL.
There's that angled text. Oh, such baller design. Good stuff.
Yeah, and that one could have gone with KNW or A Bravo 1 Lima Lima.
I could move to the UK and get, I don't know, M4 TTY.
I kind of wish that N0MTN would have gone with the WA0MTN to
Yeah, it would be worth it.
commemorate our old friend Joe Tucker.
Ham radio is badass in Europe because everybody's crammed so close together. They got such high population density. Here we've got to use 1,000 watts of power and fucking 120-foot tower to get out to the next state. Over there, you can hop 3 countries with like an antenna on your roof. Kind of jealous.
That's right. The only person you can control is yourself. K0SD.
Hi, Bobby. What up? Good to see you.
Now that's asking too much out of me.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed that about you.
Where on earth are my powerful?
Yeah, they're still squeezing it out on.
Oh, I know where they're at.
Yeah, I know, right?
They're
I got
on
the chop.
other
I got the
toolbox
trim.
On the other side of the,
I can move my chin
other
without
side. Let's see, 1, 2, 3,
scratching
4,
it on
5,
the
6,
on the
7
mic.
7 toolboxes in here.
There's a giant
And
pile of hair on the floor
my
at the barber shop.
powerful
It was good
crimpers. Why
shit.
don't I?
But yeah, I had to get ready for spring. I had to get looking sharp. Plus, like tomorrow is like I actually volunteered to
I have my strippers here.
to join us to join the rest of the team in the knock because we're doing like live event monitoring for a certain football game that I'm not allowed to mention. So I was like, I'll come be the support guy, and if you need me to reach out to any customers for any reason, I can do so. So I figured I'd look sharp for that because the guy that runs that team, like,
My wife sits upstairs.
he's a bit of a dandy. Like, he's great, he's awesome, but he does rock 3-piece suits like 2 or 3 days a week at least. So just to impress, I guess.
She sits up there, so she heard me.
Yeah, the bands are kind of shitty now. 20 meters is starting to fade out. We don't see too much. Yeah, he's from LA, so it's not exactly like quirky, sharp, wheezy vibe. It's just like he's just an LA dude. That's the guy that has the like he has like 19 cars or something ridiculous, but like his wildest one is a chop top slammed like 78 Blazer. Like it's basically just a cruiser. It can only live in LA because there is no top whatsoever. And he's got it on bags, and the bottom of it is like 3 inches off the ground. It's really cool, but it's definitely not an off-road vehicle. Let's see.
Yeah, I haven't done any reloading in decades. But, oh yeah, I still remember it all.
Oh, gun chat. They love gun chat, too. Fucking love gun chat.
Black talon illegal on the market, so they did away with that and came up with all the Teflon bullets, well, Teflon tipped and all the other stuff. And then we have the home defense specials and all that stuff. So where did we go? Yeah, but yeah, you definitely.
America's dying. We can't buy cop killer bullets anymore. What happened to this country? Millennials are killing cop killers.
There's the boy that wouldn't answer if he was tired or not. How you doing, Jeremiah?
I am doing okay. Last load for the day, and yeah.
This guy works at Ham Radio Outlet.
Over the next few weeks, we got
Cat
a few more
5's actually
loads,
met him too.
clean the old place
That was the dude we
and
talked to
we're
when we went down there
out.
together a couple months ago. And zero
Good. I'm
camo.
glad you're into your own place.
It's going to be a good feeling, I know. Been there, done that. K0SD.
Hey, we
Yeah,
hit 1 hour.
It will be nice. That's for sure. It'll be really nice. Just once everything's over there, it's done, said and done, it's going to be really nice.
I will be back in 2 minutes. I got to grab a fresh beer. Y'all hang tight, and then we're going to go on to some different stuff for the second hour.
20 IRL.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Thanks for letting me interrupt your QSO there. Hey, I need a radio check. I was trying a little earlier on this old ICOM 706, and I wasn't hitting the repeater very good, and I wonder if it's doing any better now.
Not too much. About 60-40, 60% audio, 40% hash.
Still not getting into it real good.
Okay, yeah, there's not much improvement actually.
What's your QTH, K0SED?
QTH is I-225 and ILF. I just installed a new window mount antenna, and I'm wondering if the problem might just be that my radio is not grounded well enough.
There's the problem right there. Those dang window mounts, they either work or they don't. Yours isn't. You at least get yourself like a mag mount or something like that for dual band mag mount. NP4A. I'm going to shut up because I can't talk apparently.
I appreciate that. So, when I get the dual band mag mount, can I send you the bill for the paint job when it ruins my paint?
As long as I can send you the bill, as long as you got enough left over to pay for the bill for the popped finals you have in that radio.
All right. Touche. Okay, let me work on it some more. I'm not sure what else I could do. I've used those window mounts before in my other truck, and it worked just fine. The first time I've ever had an issue with one. They generally work pretty good, so I don't know. I double checked that.
10-0 camo. Quick.
I know there's not a ground on the window mount.
John.
It's plastic glass.
And we is back.
There's got to be a ground somewhere.
Yeah, you did it.
I don't know. I'll either live with it or live
By the way,
with it.
for Cat 5 and everybody else, I finally set up the Streamlabs remote so I can do
See
cameras,
what kind of power output,
mute audio and stuff like that. Kind of useful.
output you've got going there. I mean, even with 5 watts, you should be banging the repeater hard.
Yeah, you can switch scenes, you can turn anything on and off, you can load different scene collections. It's super useful, and it hooks up with Wi-Fi. So, like, I've got it on a charger, but you don't actually need a cable for it. It works on iPhones too.
No SWR.
Sponsored by
bridge on
Tecate today.
706 for 2 meters, 70 centimeters. Alpha Delta Zero Hotel Tango.
Yes, I'm 21 years of age. Okay, slow scan seems to be petering out a little bit, so we're going to close that out.
The onboard SWR meters are good.
I'm going to back off the grandpas a little bit here. And let's play with... Oh
I
yeah.
was in trouble again, Zach.
Different canvas size, forgot to resize everything before I
For the
started.
garage time here, and thought I'd just jump in. I heard that about the SWR. I think that with the 706 that's the case.
That works for now.
Pretty sure anyway. 80-0 HT. Good
All right.
afternoon, everybody.
So this is a program, it's called FL Digi. Shut these dudes up. FL Digi transmits and receives various digital modes, like keyboard data type stuff. And for that, on this band, we hang out on 14.070, and huzzah, there are people on, which is really cool. There's a little bit of activity here. So we're going to see what we can see. And first thing we do is set it to 0 dB output level, which is the max that the program does. And we'll do our test carrier. and see. I keep getting confused. I want to go over like on my Streamlabs preview and click the buttons, but no, wrong monitor. Yeah, we're way off tune here. We'll switch to the antenna that works. Cool. So that's like full power. So we'll back it off minus 6 dB here, which is like 1/4 of max. So I should get like 25 watts. Yeah. Cool. Pressing some tofu, that sounds pretty good. I want to learn how to cook with tofu a little bit. It seems like a very good flavor sponge, and you get a little bit of nutrition with it too. I used to love the little fried tofu squares from the Chinese joint or whatever. It's probably not the most healthiest way to have it, but it's good. Miso soup is good too, yeah. Actually at our team lunch, or our office lunch on Thursday this week, they had a big pile of jackfruit as one of the like main dishes, and it's really weird because it kind of looks like, I don't know, barbecued or like roasted chicken or something, but I've never had jackfruit before, and it was really good. Like, I went back for seconds. So I'm gonna try one out. I guess they look really freaky, like in a store. Yeah. They just look like these giant things, and they're large. Yeah, like, they're big, but it was really good, and they just roasted it up and chopped it up, and seems like it would be a good kind of protein substitute. Meat fruit, yes. Alright, so how this works is that 2.34? Nice, okay. That's way better. Yeah, I was like 6 or 7 seconds yesterday. So I can tell we're like, that's really critical for like chat, to have like a more interactive chat. So I'm glad that that's coming together. And I turned recording on, so this one will actually be on Twitch too. And yeah, and today I'm running 1920 by 1280 or whatever res, and then downscaling to 720 for the stream. So, and the computer's still doing good, 14.8% at 30 frames. I'm happy with that. So we got a trace here. Let's tune in and see if we can pick them up. I'm gonna actually tweak the this helps things kind of pop out a little bit better on the screen. So this is what's called a waterfall display. Those of you that have played with SDRs have seen this before, but it's time domain. It just scrolls top to bottom. And then frequency domain, it's the audio coming in from the radio. So all this just operates in like a 2 or 3 kilohertz band. And most of these modes are much narrower than that. So we can listen in a little bit. Oh, nice. Very cool. I didn't know about that inspector. That's super sweet. I'm guessing that before long, since this seems to be taking off pretty well, that I'm going to have all sorts of, like, I got to get an extra monitor or two for studio monitoring. Because sometimes I do use both of my regular monitors for actual radio stuff, so I think I'm going to get more screens. So there's a little activity here. Some people on. Let's just double check and make sure that our output looks good. 25 watts. Alright. Let's go ahead and send out a CQ, see if anybody wants to chit chat. This is called PSK 31. It's been around for almost 20 years now. But it's just a single sine wave, and then when you want to flip from a 1 to a 0, the protocol inverts the phase of the signal. So it's very narrow, 31 symbols per second, something like that. It's basically geared to be average typing speed. So think of it as like a 300 baud modem, basically, except it's just in one little line. So you can fit like 30 or 40 people on one frequency, because everybody just tunes the radio to like 070 here, and then they click different offsets wherever they are. And let's see, I'm going to pull up the spot map. All of these programs automatically upload stations that they hear and stations that can hear them to this kind of worldwide network. So you can kind of check and see how you're getting out. And get my permalink. And then I need to do a little tweak on my spot map here. And then pull up the spot map. And we will get rid of that. And then these things. Oh. It's kind of hard to edit these live. Yeah, 20 meters sucks today. There's no good. There's no good at all. I got too many things on top of this. Wow. Anyways, we'll just pull that up later. Yeah, basically a 1 is no inversion of the phase, and then a 0 will be it inverts the phase. So let's see if I can get a quick example of the signal here. Let's see if Google has anything. Nah, they don't have any good photos, anyways. Yeah, 31 symbols per second. And it uses a varicode, which means that the symbols don't all take the same time, and they've mapped it to the English language. So like a lowercase e is going to be the fastest symbol to send. You'll sometimes see dudes type in all caps here, and basically their transmissions go like 30% slower because it assumes that most of the time you'll be typing in lowercase. Let's put the spot map this way. So this one person over here, somewhere in Kentucky or some shit, picked me up 3 minutes ago on that first transmission. Yes, you can backspace, and it's funny when you get like a super noob typist, and they're just terrible at typing, because you'll see, like, you can actually hear, like, you can't decode it by ear, but you can tell when somebody's just kind of typing and backspacing and stuff. So it's kind of funny when you get like a person that doesn't send the macros. Like, most of the time people will just kind of like start contacts and say hello, and then they'll like do their like brag sheet, which is like all their equipment and all this crap, and then they'll say, okay, well, thanks for the contact, bye. They don't actually chit chat. I don't like talking to those dudes because it's boring. So I actually try to keyboard chat a little bit. That's why I'm trying to raise a couple people here and see if we can actually do a little bit of rag chew, as it were. But there's a lot of macros involved. I can actually bump the power a little bit more. The tune button squirts out 25 watts, but because this is modulated a little bit, just a little bit, like you can see like the carrier signal is just that straight line, and then you're actually sending data. It's a little bit wider. I can actually double size that to make it more visible. give it 2 more dB. A little bit more beef. You can see the 2 lines here. That's just like the dead carrier, and then this is actually data being modulated. And yeah, it's about 31 symbols per second, and it's about 31 hertz wide because of signal theory. Yeah, there's just not much going on. There was a few dudes when we switched over here, but they've all disappeared. Oh, there's somebody. He's barely in there. Let's see if we can pick him up when he comes back. And this panel over here, this is like a multi-receiver. Like, each 50 hertz of this band is allocated to a slot over here, and so you can receive multiple conversations at once. And then if you see something interesting over here, you can just click on it and it'll auto-tune the radio. No, you can just hang out on here. Like, you don't have to QSY or change frequencies or anything. You just park it wherever you were. Generally, you just try to be polite and not transmit right off somebody, right on top of somebody, because that's kind of rude, and it results in you not getting contact and them not getting contact, so it's just mutually detrimental. So you find your own spot on the band. Change the waterfall scaling to help pull things out a little bit better. Sometimes I hop around because people have local interference that might be on this side of the band or on this side of the band. So sometimes you can get a contact by kind of hopping around a little bit. You can hear the pitch of the tone change when you bop around. We'll switch modes after this if there's no bites, and listen to some other beep boops. PSE means please, and K means anybody can respond. If you're in a conversation with somebody, you write KN, which is only the person that I'm talking to, please respond. Bunch of shorthand. All that's passed down from the Morse code. CW operators use a lot of abbreviations. Alright, there's nothing on PSK, so we're going to hop around a little bit. Where are the YLs at? I gotta be careful about calling people OM on the air, especially on the chat modes, because you don't know, right, until they're first response back to you. And I've accidentally basically called a woman, "Hey sir," and was like, "Oops, sorry." So I generally try to keep it gender neutral until they send their name. But sometimes it'll be Lynn or Jamie, and you're just like, fuck. So you go to the QRZ lookup page and do they have a picture or something? I don't want to sound like an idiot. Yeah, OM is old man. YL is young lady. XYL is your wife. X young lady. Haha, see what they did there? Oh, here we go. So this one I'm gonna have to narrow down, but you see there's a signal here. This is a MFSK, or multi-frequency shift keying mode. So they use a bunch of different tones. Sometimes it's hard to pick out exactly which mode they're using, because these are all different modulations that you can use. after a while, you kind of just learn to ID things from what they look like on the waterfall. But there is a bit of a guessing game at the beginning. So let's see if we can pull them out, because I saw them sneaking in there a little bit. Radio person, I like it. Also, op is short for operator. Okay, so this is Thor. I know that because of the little stair step thing. Let's see, is it Thor 11? Yeah, I guessed right. And I can crank my filters down on my radio to make it kind of come out of the noise there. See if we can get them. Puyallup? Is that how you pronounce it? Let's go for Joe. So there you see the KN, which is only the person that I'm calling. Please respond. Yeah, it's pretty fun, isn't it? Alright, we got him. Nice. We got Joe, very cool. This is just my logbook. CN87 up there in the northwest. I've talked to many dudes up there. Ooh, he's barely got me. So this means that my signal is 15 decibels weaker than the average noise level. That's how good these modes are. Alright, and then these are mapped to F keys, so I can just do a I got a macro. Seems a little quiet. And then we just let that send. It just buffers, and then we just go. Hi is how we do LOL in ham radio. Hi, hi. There are legends about old like Morse code operators that like did like army radio for like 40 years, and their laugh ends up being ha 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 ha, because that's what hi is in Morse code. Dit 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 dit. So yeah, they just kind of rewire their brain. There we go. And this is what's called an interleaved mode, so it needs a few seconds to kind of collect the statistics on what tones are being typed because there's redundancy. Yeah, basically it does like a CRC on like the past like 10 symbols or something like that. So if you get like a burst of noise in just the right spot, it'll kind of, blow it up, but it'll recover then once it gets back in the decode loop. Yeah, he's doing the same thing we are. We're just looking for shit. That's a different mode that's a lot like this. It's a little bit newer, a little bit more redundant. And yeah, it's very slow, but like you can decode people that you can't even see on the waterfall, which makes it kind of interesting. Um, the operators that use Olivia generally just park it on 1500 hertz on their center, because sometimes you can have a contact with somebody and you like cannot see them on the waterfall. So we've just kind of mutually agreed that everybody just transmits on like centered on 1500 when you're using those modes. And what's cool is you can have people on top of each other with these, because there's so much like CRC checking and redundancy. You can often pull both conversations out. Oh shit. He's on a Mac, yo. Oh, this never happens. I've never talked to anybody using a Mac. Some of them use Linux. Holy cow, I'm so excited. This is great. This is gold. Licensed 2 years before I was born. Nice. No, that really is noise bursts. He's kind of, yeah, he's like, we're getting a little bit of static at the wrong time that blows up some of the symbols. You think he's mad about hurricanes? Beep. What's up, Beep? How's it going? We're chatting with Joe in Washington right now. And then we'll squirt out a little macro and tell him what we're using. Yeah, this is some slow stuff. And this is not as slow as it goes either. Like, there are other modes that are even more low symbol rate. It's basically you have a signal to noise ratio, and then you have a bandwidth, and then you have your speed of your data. And those are in like a triangle equation. So if you have a stronger signal, you can transmit faster. If you have a narrower bandwidth, you can transmit with a weaker signal, and so on. Yeah, I think it's pretty badass that like we're using like basically 120-year-old technology here and then broadcasting it on brand new Twitch. It's pretty badass. But I think that's really cool because like, see, I'm like actually advertising my Twitch in my macros, and then obviously playing radio on Twitch. So maybe we'll get some Twitch viewers that are interested in radio, and then we'll find some old hams that are like, "What's this Twitch thing?" And they get on, and like maybe we'll get somebody like addicted to like Fortnite streaming or something. Who knows? It's possible. So we're saying goodbye. This is my little goodbye signal report. These are the ways that you can confirm contacts with me for awards. And then timestamp. And then SK means we're done. We're not talking anymore after this one. How do we know if the band is dead? There's no signals. There's no like traces on the waterfall. You can't find anybody to talk to. So when it's really hot, you'll see like a bunch of different lines across, and like you can see different people chatting. Right now, there's not much going on. We've just got him. Aww. Yeah. You get some entertaining typos when the algorithms screw up, and you can't like do a full decode. I've seen some nasty words in there, completely just random noise generated. Losing him, he's fading out. This is basically my squelch knob. When it's below the green line, it won't attempt to decode. We'll just try to pull him out at the very end. But I think he's gone. See how it's just doing gibberish now? It's trying. There's not sufficient information coming in between these two lines to do a decode. It happens. But what we're looking is just a little bit of indication that he's saying goodbye and done. Seems to be just noise right now. Yep, he's out. He's gone. We quit just in time because he faded out, and now there's no more copy. Some of the modes do support Unicode. A lot of them are just ASCII. A lot of them have even more restricted character sets. Coming over to the main monitor. This is the symbol chart for RTTY. It's 5-bit code. And you have to send a symbol to unshift your stuff. By default, it's all caps. So that's what they all map to. So you have to do a shift to go from the top row to the bottom, or you have to do a shift to go lowercase. So basically, people just blast out stuff in like all caps. Hellschreiber is awesome. Nobody's on right now, but this is what it ends up looking like. Comes from the stuff that this mode that this Nazi named Rudolf Hell made back in '36, and this is what the Germans used from '36. I don't know, well through the 50s or so for text communication over shortwave. So it was transmitted on a paper tape. You'll see the double lines that takes care of like missynchronization of the two machines. So even if things are slanted, it sends like 2 copies of the letter, right like this, right above each other. So because of the way our brains work, we'll be able to read everything on there, no matter what the sync is like. Yeah, I got a haircut. Freaky, isn't it? Yeah, it is Stone Age, and people do it every day. Like, I play with this stuff every day. Oh, you can see my neck. Where's Smoka? He needs to troll me about my fucked up neck today. Alright, so let's see, back to this. Let's see if there's any other activity just on the digital segment of the 20 meter band. We'll go up first. So this is what's known as FT8. I would need to start a different program to decode this, but this is the most popular digital mode right now. It sends in 13.7 second chunks every 15 seconds, and everybody's GPS or like clock synced, NTP, whatever. Yeah, and like I can just zoom out and then look for signals, and then obviously I can hear too. I can. We're zoomed in 2x right now, and this is like I've got it set to only do FFT to 2500 hertz. All this is just FFT in a time domain, by the way. But yeah, so everything between 0 and 2500 hertz, I will pick up, and it'll show up as traces here. But you can hear with like FT8. Actually, let me go ahead and save this, save the log entry, and then there'll be something up there in just a moment. Oh, wrong one. I'll open up WSJT, and then I need to add a window here. Give me a second. Window capture. I wasn't prepared to have this running, but that's no problem. Yeah, there we go. All right, so this is what everybody uses these days. It's very, very easy to run contacts with this. It's literally just like Pokemon mouse clicks. Catch them all. So let me adjust that a little bit. That'll be better. Okay. So every 15 seconds, we start the timer over, and we listen for 13 seconds, and then it decodes all the different signals in parallel. I think I can actually add. Let me add the wide graph. Yeah, there we go. And this is more interesting than the radio right now, so we'll leave it there. So this is a similar waterfall. It moves slower. No, there was no way to do like waterfall type stuff back in the day. You used to have like a $10,000 Spectrum analyzer hooked up to the output of your radio, and had this insane setup if you wanted to see the little dots. And even then, it was like it just looked like this bottom graph here, like you just had spikes. The time domain was not a thing. But you can see all these people talking, and they're just sending stuff back and forth. There's like a 4 or 5 exchange standard for contact. So let's see here. I'm gonna do a tune. We'll see what the radio does. Oh, I'm on 40 meters. That's right. This program totally takes over your radio. So let's go up to 20 meters. All these bands constantly have FT8 activity. Okay. Got about 30 watts coming out there. This is a really controversial mode. This is the latest one that all the old men, I don't know, accuse of killing ham radio or whatever, because it's incredibly simple to operate. You'll see how like easy it is to make contacts here. We're gonna snipe somebody right after this. And as it happens, this guy is in Delta Mike 7-9, which is my grid square, so he's like within like 20 miles. So we're going for a local this time, but that's okay. Two Cats, what up? How's it going? Yeah, we use the four character grid squares here to find out where people are. And this means that I was 6 decibels above the noise level. And him, I'm not hearing too well, so I'm giving back a report of negative 14. So he's 14 decibels lower than the average noise level. But that's fine. Heck yeah, we're glad to have you. We play Saturday afternoons and Wednesday evenings Mountain Time. Just follow and you can get notified when we go live. And that's it. We made a legal contact. This guy's in the logbook, and we can move on to the next one. And all I had to do was like click 3 mouse buttons. Exactly. This stuff just basically integrates over time. So even if it's below the instantaneous noise level, we assume that the radio noise is mathematically random, right? Because that's like, that's what it is. So if you can detect any trends that indicate that a particular signal is not random, no matter how weak it is, given enough time, you can do basically averages on that. And then you'll be able to pick out signals. And that's what these programs do, is they stretch out time. I mean, this sends 14 characters, all caps, in 13 seconds. So it's like, like 5 words per minute or something like that. But all these up here on the top left, all those little streaks are different operators transmitting on different slices. You just kind of pick your own little spot and then, just kind of stake it out. But you'll notice that the vast majority of people start right at the end of this. This means that your clock is synced up. I use a program called Dimension 4 because Windows internal like NTP sync for clock sync is absolutely horrible. So we use a third-party program called Dimension 4 that does it like every 15 minutes and it's super accurate. So as long as you're on that, you start at the proper 0-second offset, and then people will be able to decode you, because this does require you to be synced up. Yeah, contact is a big Big thing that I've heard for people learning about radio. That and Alf, the old sitcom. Lots of people remember Willie and his radio or whatever. Yeah, you have to be GPS clocked or NTP clocked or something to operate this mode effectively. One trick is that if you're like out camping or something and you don't have cell phone signal, you tune into like WWV or CHU Canada, one of the time stations, and you do the best you can to manually set your laptop's clock to that. And as long as you're within a second or so, it'll work. Maybe a half second. So we're talking to W4YHD. His direction is 84 degrees, so basically straight east, and he's 1,502 miles away over on the East Coast somewhere. So we just fired up a contact with him. He should say RR73, and then we'll say 73 back, and it's another... Yeah, if you have a GPS, like an actual GPS receiver, that plugs into your computer with a serial port. It's like uses a standard. It's called the NMEA 0183. If you have one of those, yes, you can clock sync off of that. But like you can't like use a cell phone with no service. It won't spit a proper time signal to your computer, sadly. So we just finished talking to this guy, see like how casual this is. Yeah, it's like incredibly whack-a-mole. You just like jump on somebody and you like auto macro through, and as long as you can squeeze out the RF at the right time and they can hear you, it's basically a free contact. This dude's talking to that dude that we're talking to is just talking to somebody in Japan. PY5 is Brazil, and he's talking to Japan. So yeah, there's a lot of countries that you can work on this. It's very probably the most reliable way that you can get a signal around the world, especially now that we're in kind of a shitty part of the sunspot cycle. People love this because they can actually get confirmations. These are allowed to be used for credit towards awards, and the most popular awards are Worked All States, talk to somebody in all 50 states, and then DXCC, which is the DX Century Club. And you have to have confirmations from at least 100 countries to get that award. All they're doing is sending like this basic exchange. Here, I'll just click on one and won't actually transmit it. But so like you start out here on the CQ, which means hey, I'm I just want to talk to anybody. Then the other person will respond with the number 1 macro, which is, hey, I hear you. Here's my call sign and my grid square, so you know who I am and where I am. Then the first person comes back and says, hey, I hear you. This is how loud you are. And then the second person comes back and says, hey, I hear you too. I received your signal report. That's what the R means. And here's your signal report. So at this point, you've exchanged signal reports, you know your call signs, and you know the locations. And then the first person sends RR73, which is, I got your confirmation. 73, we're done. And then you send 73 back, which is bye. And that's it. So that's the like very codified like shorthand that this program actually uses. You can somewhat customize these, but 99% of the contacts just auto-generate this macro set, and you just go through it. Yeah, it's just trading, like, it's incredibly Pokemon. The awards are passed out by the ARRL, American Radio Relay League. They're the biggest, like, non-governmental body of ham radio. Basically, everybody joins them. I'm not a member because they're full of old men, and they push things that I don't really care about. But that's who gives the awards out, and yeah, there's like hundreds of thousands of members. I'd say probably about 60 or 70% of hams in the U.S. are members, and you can join if you're not American too. Yeah, there's actually a program called JS8 Call that came out about 6 months or so ago. Basically, a kid, his name is Jordan. He's a really smart coder type kid. This is open source, this program. So he took the code for this and ripped out this kind of preset message paradigm, and he just set it up to where you can just chat on it. And if your message that you're trying to send is longer than 14 or 13 characters, it just breaks it up into multiple transmission segments. So if you type 60 characters, it transmits like 5 of these chunks all in a row, but the other station just kind of pieces them all together, and then there's a little end of line symbol. So there is like a chat mode based on this, but it's not compatible with this exact program. But it uses the same modulation and the same signaling here. They just basically strapped a different UI to it. We'll work another contact here and then spin around and see if there's anything else going on. What up? How's it going? Gosh, 16. That's a new record. Not bad for my first official sesh. Thank you, everybody, for hopping on. This is so fun. I mean, I do this like every night of the year anyways, so it's fun to have people kind of watching over my shoulder and talking a little shit. Helps keeps things entertaining. And I love teaching this stuff, and it's we're gonna go for Brazil here. It's kind of tough to find people to just spontaneously teach this to. Like, a lot of people are like, get young hams set up, find curious kids, and like teach them, and like, I mean, I'm a 40-year-old single dude. I'm not going to go, like, chasing down a bunch of 4th graders. Like, you want to learn about ham radio? That's a little less socially acceptable than it might have been, like, 20 or 30 years ago. So it's hard to find an audience for this stuff. So that's kind of why I picked up on the Twitch thing. And hopefully everybody's having fun and kind of learning some stuff. And I'm talking to a dude in Brazil right now. Bearing is 128, so southeast-ish. And it's 5,674 miles away. Not too shabby. You can't even really do this stuff in, like, I've got like some old hardware modems for like kind of simpler, more old school modes, but this requires a shitload of CPU power. If you think about it, you have 1.3 seconds at the very end to decode as many of these signals as you can. So it actually like spins up like 100 decoders in parallel, and each one takes over a different little 50 hertz wide slice of the band. So that's why all these things just blast in all at once. Yeah, this is all still radio. This is still RF. It's just that we have a computer sound card listening to the radio and sending audio to the radio. That's the only difference. But yeah, we still have like a plain old where is it? Yeah, it's my radio right there. We got a camera on it. Ham radio or gladiator movies? Yes. You ever seen a grown ham naked? The audio is literally just like, I have a analog audio line. This mixer over here takes inputs and outputs from all my radios, and then it's hooked up to just a USB sound dongle. Yeah, here, let me take this off. So like, this is my mixer. Sorry, I have too many degrees of freedom on my camera here. This mixer takes audio in and out from the radio, and then routes it to a $3 USB sound card. And I just have cables soldered up to take the big XLRs off the back of this straight into the sound card. I actually don't even have connectors on the other end. I soldered it to the pads on the sound card. So yeah, that's all it is. And then there's a separate cable that sends control signals, which are just serial, from the radio to the computer. And it's just a serial to USB adapter. It's another $5. And so it sends a certain like ASCII string over the serial port to like key the radio and then to change frequencies and stuff. Back in the day, I used to. Everything really juicy is kind of cryptoed now. Things you shouldn't be able to listen to, like, I'd say around, let me back this off a little bit here, because that whining, I know it gets annoying. Even like late 90s, 98, 99, when I was just moved, like I just moved out on my own, I had a radio that could pick up the analog cell phones back in the day. They're up around like 865 megahertz. And technically it was illegal to listen to those. That's one of the few services that the FCC actually said you cannot own a radio capable of tuning into these frequencies, or one that is easily modifiable. Because a lot of manufacturers would say, oh, but out of the box it can't pick those up. But if you go in and like snip this big wire loop made of like bright red wire, it suddenly like flips a flag in it, and then like you can listen to everything. I had one of those. But yeah, I did a lot of like listening to like analog cell phones, and generally the spread on those was 98% of the conversations were fucking boring. Just the worst stuff. Just like dudes calling their wives, hey, I'm on my way home, you know, because like back then phones were still novel, you know, they were still kind of a neat thing. You could call your spouse and say, hey, you know, heat up the turkey or whatever. And then that last 2% was like incredibly juicy, like people calling their like girlfriends on the side and stuff, and like people getting dirty on it. They didn't realize at all that it was very easily like snoopable. And yeah, POXEG pagers are also illegal to discuss or disseminate the info. You can listen to it there in your room. If you put like a POXEG pager to a Twitter bot up, you would be run up the flagpole real quick. Even though they're not supposed to do it, a lot of hospitals still send PII over their pager networks. And they still use pager networks because, say like a cell phone uses like a 5-watt radio up on a tower and uses basically microwaves. Not quite technically microwaves, but very short wavelengths, RF signals at low power. At a pager, the transmitter is like fucking 400 watts. It's this huge, high-powered, like, super transmitter, and it transmits on much lower frequencies that can cut through buildings. So, like, down when you're in the MRI room and you have your little pager that doesn't have an external antenna, it's not very sensitive, they're just fire hosing the whole hospital campus with RF off the pagers, because it's so mission critical that when a doctor's paged, they have to get the message. Phones do not work when you're like in sub-basement 2 of a 10-story hospital. Pager will cut through no problem. But they send like social security numbers and like diagnoses over pagers all the time. You can snoop in. I'm smart, so I will not be streaming any pager monitoring sessions, but you can research a lot more on your own and get into that if you like. Yeah, the pager traffic dump from 9/11, it was super grim, actually. Like, because the first thing you saw was just a bunch of like automated pages from servers going offline, and then like medical pages start to trickle in, and then yeah, it was super bad. Grim shit, grim shit. But yeah, pagers are not dead by any means. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Drink Tecate. Budweiser in a sombrero. Alright, I'll go for another half hour. We got a nice viewer count. I'm stoked. Thanks everybody for hopping on. If you're new to it and you don't know what this is, we're a group of online nerds, and I'm the peak radio guy of everybody. And I got tired of playing radio by myself, so I figured I'd start streaming it. So Saturday afternoons and Wednesday evenings, we're going to be doing this, doing different stuff. Thank you for the compliment. Yes, I got a haircut today. We're going to be doing a lot of different stuff. We're going to be operating radios, but we're also going to be doing a lot of DIY stuff, fixing stereos and radios and stuff, and all that, and all kinds of neat, you know, solder head stuff. So we'll mix it up. It won't be the same thing every week or every session. So, check something real quick. You can see you can't even hear much, but we're still getting signals come across. This is a very sensitive mode. So P25 in crypto is a complex equation, because cryptoed radios require a whole lot of careful management, and you have private key encryption. So each radio has to be loaded with a key. Every time you hit push to talk on a cop radio, it has to perform a negotiation and then establish a data channel using those keys. And turns out that if you're a big city cop and you just got shot by a gang member or something, if your radio doesn't work, the chief of police screams. And so that's why Denver PD itself is on a basically 25-year-old analog system. And all the suburbs around here, like Edgewater, Lakewood, Aurora, they're all like digital cryptoed to hell and back. You can't listen to any cops in my actual town. It kind of shows that most likely all of those suburban cops are just like pulling people over for busted taillights and harassing minorities and doing all the shit that they don't want people snooping in on. Denver PD's job is a little more intense. It's a little more kind of gritty there in the downtown area. So they use old school analog radios. New York City doesn't even use trunking radios. They have a frequency for each precinct. Trunking is basically logical channels. The radios talk back and forth and say, transmit on this frequency for this transmission, but you may be on a different one for the other transmission. But the radios keep track. So to your ear, you're only talking to one person. That stuff is still flaky enough that NYC cops don't even use that. You tune into one frequency and it's the 83rd Precinct dispatch channel. And everybody is on there. Yeah, Chicago uses analog. I think SF is still on analog. Yeah, so basically the bigger and the more raw a city is, the less likely that you're going to hear a bunch of cryptoed stuff. Because as I mentioned last night, they always have an out these days. They can just call on a cell phone. You can't decrypt cell phones these days. So they'll call dispatch on a cell phone if they need to transmit confidential info. So really, if your department is big enough, you just use cell phones for all the sensitive shit, and then use cheaper, easier to administer, and more reliable analog radios for your actual everyday radio traffic. But they don't want to switch totally to cell phones because they burn so many minutes, and cell phones are less reliable too. You don't want to rely on a cell phone in a panic emergency situation. It's bad. We should destroy a Bofang on camera. I should buy one and we should just tear it apart. Hit it with a hammer. There's Ecuador, they showed up. Lots of countries. Yeah. Alright, so we've had enough WSJT whistles. It's fun, but it does get kind of hard on the ears. So we're going to go back to FL Digi. And I'm probably wrap it up here in about 10 or 15 minutes, but until then, we're going to scan through the bands and see if we can hear any more digital signals. And yeah, you'll see the sync between my actual radio and then the display on here. That's a guy sending code. He's very weak, but he's very fast. Yeah, the FCC shut down with the shutdown, so nobody got license renewals or new licenses for 4.5 weeks. They're still recovering from it. There's a 2-week lag time now, but they're working through the backlog. But yeah, for a month and a half, everybody on Reddit and on Twitter was just screaming because they're like, I just got my ham radio license. I passed the test. I have the piece of paper that says I passed the test. But you can't get on the air until the FCC issues you a call sign. And you can look that up online. like you can stalk their website and like check it every half hour, like every day, until you show up in their records. As soon as that shows up, you take the call sign and you can legally talk on there, because they don't send out paper licenses anymore, sadly. So as long as you're online in the system, you are legal. But that didn't happen for a month and a half, and all these new hams got radios for Christmas, and then couldn't talk on them, even though they're passed their test, and they were raging. There was a lot of hate. Like I said last night, given the average demographics of the ham hobby, probably 70% of them voted for the ultimate force that shut down the government. So it's kind of on them. 20 meters is taking a shit, so we're gonna hop down and we're gonna do a quick spin through the 40 meter digital band, and we gotta switch antennas for that. And this one needs to be tuned. So we'll go over here. Does the tuner show up okay? I wish my lights would come in. That'll work though. All right. So we switch this over here, and then we're going to start transmitting power. And then we want that to pin, and then we flip the switch, and we look for a dip on the meter. There's a decent one. See if we can get it to go lower. The two knobs interact, so you got to find the best combo of the two. Getting there, pretty close. That works. All right, now we're tuned up and the antenna is matched well to the radio, and we won't explode our radio when we try to transmit. Yeah, those are good stiff knobs. Those are really nice. Right, that's an impedance match. This antenna that we're on right now is a 135 or 140 foot long dipole, so two wires each like 75 feet, and then it's fed with what's called open wire line, which is not coax. It's two wires parallel, and then there's little spacers between them. If you remember the old the flat TV twin lead that we used to have on UHF TV antennas like way back in the day, it's basically a giant version of that. It's spaced like 1.5 inches apart. That's not quite like Twinax. Here, I'll pop up the browser, and we'll take a look and see. So yeah, this is what it looks like. I have this 450 ohm line here. This is what you would use on a TV set back in the day. This isn't really seen, this 300 ohm stuff, but then mine has an impedance of 450 ohms. The reason we use this is that this stuff has virtually no loss per foot. So all these feed lines like attenuate and like suck up some signal per foot. Coax is actually pretty shitty, and it like sucks up a lot of signal. And if your antenna is not matched well, it sucks up even more, like exponentially. This stuff here, you can run an antenna at whatever like match you want, and it'll lose like 0.1 dB over 100 feet. Like you don't even think about it when you're running this stuff. And then we just shoved this in the back of the antenna tuner, which is a variable transformer, basically, that you have to readjust to be on frequency. So if you like spin the dial and change frequencies, you won't be matched until you fiddle with the tuner again. So that's what I use for my big horizontal antenna that's stretched between a tree and two big poles that I have up. And it works on lower frequencies pretty well. And it's also a horizontal wire. So these things come in with different polarizations of the waves, right? Like if you have a vertical antenna, it emanates energy differently than if you have a horizontal one. That's compounded by the fact that whenever things bounce off the ionosphere, the thing that's letting us talk far, the polarization can rotate, it can shift, it can skew. So sometimes you just need to be able to switch back and forth between a horizontal and a vertical antenna. Even though they may be transmitting on a vertical, due to the way it bounces off the magic sky layer, a horizontal wire may pick it up better at your end. So that's basically how that works out. So I have horizontals and verticals for just about every shortwave band. This is my only horizontal antenna, but I can tune it up to be on any shortwave band with that tuner box. The magic sky layer, yeah. I think that's the official stream term for it. Bouncing signals off the magic sky layer. Down here on 40 meters, we have, let's see, a little bit of power output. Let's see what it is at max power here. Alright. I don't know any number stations off the top of my head. We're going to do a number station episode once I collate like some frequencies and stuff to tune up on. But sadly, nothing to mess with today. So there's a couple dudes here. Let's see if we can... 40 meters is like half the frequency of the 20 meter band that we were on. It picks up in the evenings, which is why I switched over to it now, because it's about sundown. And it'll go about through midnight, maybe 1 a.m. or so, and then it'll kind of die out. So each of these bands operates at basically a different 6 to 12 hour window of the day. I don't have an amplifier in my car for shortwave. I actually have a radio that's very low powered in there, and it's because it was the most convenient radio that I owned for mobile installation. So every radio station is like a two-part thing. You have your radio, and that's what everybody focuses on because it's fancy and it's $600, right? But the more important thing is what your antenna is and what the rest of your station is. If I took this radio, which is expensive and fancy, and just hooked it up to a piece of speaker wire on my floor of my room here, it wouldn't pick up anything. But I could get an old shitty $50 radio from the 60s and hook it up to a nice, well-installed, well-grounded, large antenna and have tons of fun with it and pick up all kinds of signals. So you have to balance where you spend your energy. So when I was building the Expedition mobile setup, I was like, I can always buy a better radio. What if I started out with a low power radio and I put a really good antenna on the truck and I bonded everything together to make sure it was really well grounded? Like I have copper braided straps between all four doors, the hood and the tailgate, and the body of the truck. Then I crawled under and I added more copper straps to ground the exhaust pipe to the body of the truck. So it's super, super well installed. I've got some power wire that's the size of my pinky, running to this 10-watt radio. And every time I get on there and I talk to dudes on there, they don't believe that I'm running a 10-watt radio. Because the rest of the system, the power feed is really good. The antenna is really good. Everything's grounded to hell and back. And they aren't used to mobile operators having as good a signal. So that's kind of my approach. And then what's going to happen when I end up buying a 100 or a 200 watt mobile radio and swap it out for what I have in there? I'm going to have this monster signal. I'm going to be just pinning the meter on all these guys, and I'm going to sound great, and it's going to be even more fun. But even with my little low power portable radio that I have in there, I still have tons of fun. And I've talked to people in 11 states and 3 provinces since I've installed that. And I put that in late November. So it definitely works. It absolutely works. So the digital guys are starting to creep in on 40 meters. The propagation's starting to get better, but nobody's really there. So there's one more thing. I'm going to poke down through the CW band. Oh, here we go. So this is radio teletype. This is the old shit with the old teleprinters and stuff. We still use this mode. And, ooh, there looks to be a contest running. So it's always 2 tones, 170 hertz apart. We call these deedles, because that's what they sound like. And I think there's a contest running, because this mode isn't really used all that much these days, except for contests where this is specifically the mode that you're trying to use. Yeah, so there's a few dudes on here. You can see the different signals. Each pair is a different transmitter. And then this other guy just wrote back from WB5K. They use extremely short exchanges for these contacts. It's all shorthand. There's no chit-chat here. You send a signal report. That's what 599 is. 016 is the contact serial number. So this is the 16th contact that particular dude has made. Is it really international? Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of contests every weekend. There's tons of stuff to do every single weekend. You can Google the, I think it's called 8-Day Contest Calendar, and that'll bring you to a site that's the authoritative list of all the radio contests and their time slots. It's a nice big graph. But you can find out stuff to do there. So it's really neat. And if there's like a bunch of like contests, like, yeah, just like they did there, if you don't know what the hell's going on, but you see a bunch of contests going on, you can just look on that page and see who's throwing the event, what you're supposed to send and receive for a valid contact, how to get your awards, all that. And yeah, this stuff absolutely will work. Like, if I found like a 1990 or 1972 teletype or something like that and hooked it up to my radio, it would absolutely rattle out this stuff. The advantage of this is that I can click on different stations here because I have the magic of computer. Back in the day, your receiver had two very, very finely tuned filters for the two tones, and it would literally just shit out ones and zeros and feed that into the printer. But those were fixed on one offset. So the art of tuning it in so that every signal was exactly at like, 1900 and 2070 hertz became the real art of operating this stuff. You couldn't just click around here. You had to tune the actual radio knob to line up the incoming signal with the two modems you had, basically. Stuff that's gone by, not down here, but if they show up on the side view, you can bring back what they were talking about. It'll back scroll it a little bit. And you'll hear, like, as I tune down, you'll see different stations pop up. There's AA4DD. Yeah, sometimes they kind of bleed over each other and stuff like that, so you gotta kind of wait for the right time and all that. And dudes that transmit on top of other dudes with this, because these guys use high power. These guys are all running like at least 100, more likely closer to like 500 watts of juice. They can do that because of the way this mode works. You can overdrive an amplifier basically, and it doesn't generate harmonics. A lot of the other modes do, so you have to be very careful to not overdrive your final amp. Really doesn't care. You just crank it all the way, and any harmonics get filtered out. So these guys run big amplifiers and huge signals. This is not a particularly sensitive mode, but it was the first way that we could transmit text over shortwave radio. So it's really important, and that's why these old fellas still use it, because it was that important. So we've got these guys playing around here, and we'll probably hear some more as we piddle around, but what I wanted to go down to, good old Morse code. People don't get to hear it in the wild much. So this does decode and encode CW. It takes a long time for it to kind of figure out. This guy's transmitting about 30 words a minute. We'll start at 28. This will automatically speed adjust to kind of pick up. Yeah, they absolutely will, like, roast your shit if they figure out that you're using computer CW. I would never try to transmit using FLDigi, even though it can transmit perfect CW. I would use my little code key there, which we'll definitely mess with in the future. I'm pretty good at it. I can send it like 18 or 20 words a minute, but I can only copy it like 13. So generally you only send as fast as you can receive. So I would back the speed down a little bit to something that I can copy. But yeah, people get super cranky if you use like PC generated CW. It's called CW because it's a continuous wave. Doesn't sound continuous, right? But how this started out was hams used spark gap transmitters, which are called damped waves. So instead of a DIT, you got just this little ping basically. So when they switched to like more modern radios, the wave was then continuous, as opposed to the old wave, which was basically spikes. It was like a sawtooth each time they hit the key, and you had this initial burst of energy, and then it like died off very quickly. And when they went to real radios and dumped spark gap transmitters, it then became continuous wave, which is why we call it CW. All right, thanks for tuning in. Hell yeah, see you Wednesday hopefully. And these will be archived on Twitch from here on out, so if you want to scroll back, it'll be there. God, I've been going for 2.5 hours. I'm amazed. Anyways, you can see the huge shorthand. This isn't like this doesn't do 100% copy. The human brain is still the absolute 10-time world champ of decoding Morse code, and yes, these guys are just head copying. They're probably not even writing it down. They're just sitting there with a key, just bashing it out, because these dudes have been doing it for like 40 years, and it gets very low level, like muscle memory ingrained in you. Like, they can probably actually talk to somebody on the table next to them and sip coffee while they're still paying 100% attention to this. It takes a long time to get to that level, but they've been doing it, 5 nights a week for 40 years. You're going to pick up any language if you like speak it and listen to it 3 hours a night, 5 nights a week for 40 years. That's just the way it is. And there's some sort of contest going on, which is why it's super shorthand. They're just sending their serial number of the contact. You're the 19th contact. You're the 176th contact. And their call sign back and forth. So it's not really like diverse conversation here. But you can definitely see all the signals, like how narrow they are. Like you can fit 10 or 15 signals in this one audio passband. So it's super efficient. It's like it works when basically nothing else does. Although a lot of the digital modes now do have better performance than CW. A trained operator with headphones, paying attention, not drunk, can still beat the computers. So it's definitely some John Henry versus the steam engine stuff. And it's neat to kind of see things go back and forth, because the old school CW guys will not decode with a computer, but they'll use like audio filters and stuff like that. Like if I just want to crank knobs, I can like zoom in on just one signal here or two signals here, and that's stuff that they didn't have back in 1955. You couldn't do that back then. You had to listen to all this spectrum, and that's a lot noisier and harder for your like brain to decode and all that. So yeah, it's just kind of back and forth, and everybody like takes advantage of whatever tech they want to take advantage of, and then ignores whatever tech they hate. And you just find your spot. And yeah, there's a lot of guys on tonight. "40 meters" is doing very well. There's those RTTY RIDI guys. And then this is the 40 meter FT8 segment, which is the stuff that we were making contacts on a little bit ago. And you see how many of these dudes are in there. I mean, just dozens and dozens of hams on here, just making contacts all day long. Crammed full. You only need this little slice of spectrum, so you can fit 30 of these guys on one audio channel. Everybody hangs out on 7.074 here. And then you just pick your little spot wherever there's an empty spot, and you start transmitting there, and people will go to your frequency in their program. But this is what it looks like all day long. Like, this is by far, by a factor of 10, the most popular ham digital mode. Because you can just turn the volume down, and you can just like click on stuff as it pops up, and you can make contacts without bothering your spouse or the kids or waking like anybody up. You can operate this via like VNC or remote desktop, which I've done before. I've made contacts from work when I set my radio up at home, and I just bash out 10 or 15 FT8 contacts, and boom, I played radio. Yeah, I haven't done any voice stuff yet. We've all just played with data. I do have a big old setup. Like, I have the like stereotypical big mic. That's the reason that I use this mic for the actual Twitch stream, because my desk literally cannot fit any more booms on it. I've got like the camera boom here and then this mic boom, so I was like, I'm gonna use the lav mic for the actual stream audio. But yeah, hopefully when we get some sessions, when the bands are good and running well, we will get on there and actually chat with some old dudes, and that'll be good, because I've got this set up. I've got like some compressors and preamps and stuff right here to kind of tweak my audio and give it a little bit of radio voice. So my transmitted audio does sound fairly decent. I've like tested it with like kind of remote receivers and stuff and gotten dumps, and yeah, it sounds quite well. Some guys sound like crap because they're just yelling into a little hand mic, but mine's a little bit more refined setup. And one final thing, we'll take a spin through, see if anybody's just chatting on voice on the 40 meter band. It's about that time of day that you would expect to hear some of them on. That was just a dude tuning up his radio.
November, Papa Romeo.
There's got to be another contest for voice contacts too. You hear all the guys yelling back, and you basically pick out whoever you can understand when they're in a pile up. British Columbia to Northeast Ohio. That's not too bad. There's more of those international shortwave broadcasters. As soon as you go past 7200, you get those carriers coming in. That's like radio, like Vatican Radio or something, or like Deutsche Welle or something. Can't quite get the audio off it, but those are the carrier tones that they use for a reference signal. It might be a Canadian contest, actually. I'm hearing a lot of VEs calling. Reminds you of Star Wars. That's because George Lucas has often used samples from the shortwave bands as sound effects. There's one spot in that old THX 1138 film that he made, and it's some standard RTTY tones. So you'll hear at this one spot in the film the little deedles, and you're like, oh, that's Riddy. He's had a habit of using like an off-tune signal, or I can do like the wrong sideband. You can get some crazy weird sound effects because the spectrum's inverted basically. So it's like a voice inversion type thing. So yeah, you will hear radio stuff in Star Wars and like just start to pick it out a little bit.
Time either. I've tried to call a couple of times and have gotten no contact with him, so I don't know what's going on.
Some old boys chatting.
Hopefully he's okay. All right, thank you, brother. We will catch up with you here in a few. Breaking with AE5VM. This is N5JLL and the Moonlighters. RF check-ins. For
so this would be just like a little rag chew net. Like these old guys have been coming into the Moonlighters net every Saturday night at 5 p.m. for the past 30 years, and they all just get on and see how things are going, check on everybody else's gout, stuff like that. You know, how's the XYL, how are the kids, stuff like that. They just chit chat, and it's just their little clubhouse community. You can generally check in and say hello. Sometimes it's a little weird if they don't know who you are. But you got to have a good loud signal if you want to play with these dudes. I don't have a really large station, so I generally don't fuck with the scheduled nets. I'll just get on and start calling CQ and see if somebody wants to talk with me. But it's very chill to just tune in on one of these nets and just kind of leave it in the background and just listen to like all the old dudes chatting about whatever. So sometimes they get a little. Well, it's less bad since we don't have Obama to bitch about anymore. But it used to be a lot of political griping. They do sometimes kind of gripe about Hillary and stuff like that. But generally, these are pretty social, like decent, polite gatherings, and they just chit chat about basically whatever old dudes would talk about, you know, when they're in public and, you know, there's like tender ears around. So it's chill and it's casual and it's nice to just kind of like put this on and zone out. So it's fun.
We're glad to have you with us, and we hope you'll take the opportunity to check in with us every chance you get. Roger?
And you hear lots of great accents on this. There's a lot of good old boys, but there's a lot of like awesome like Northeast accents. You hear Midwest stuff. You'll hear people from all over the world on this, and they all sound a little bit different. And some of them have very good patter, very good kind of flow and rhythm on their on their chit chat, and it's just pleasant to listen to him. It's just like listening to some old guy, you know, going on and on about some stuff, but he sounds great, you know. So, and they're aware of that too. So they just kind of flip the switch, hit transmit, and they just kind of sit there. Basically, what I'm doing here, and just kind of talking shit for a little bit, and like little mini broadcasts, you know, stuff like that. Long transmissions. They'll go for 3, 5, 7 minutes, you know, just like running their mouth and say, over to you. And then somebody else will pick it up and just talk for 5 or 7 minutes straight. And it's fun. It's cool. And, you know, I'm not really a member of any of these little cliques or communities, but I have been in the past. It's a lot of fun, and hopefully we can get back to where I can have a little gang of people to check in on. That's what I want to do. I don't want to, like, I don't particularly care about, like, making contacts to Japan or, like, the big DX, the long distance stuff. It's neat on a curiosity level, but you're never going to make a friend 13,000 miles away and be able to talk to them once a week. So I'd rather talk to people that, hey, I might be able to meet up for a beer or a cup of coffee someday. Kind of that regional communication. You know, like anybody in, like between, like, California and, like, Kansas, I'll chat them up and we'll have a good old conversation. Because, hey, there may be a time that, you know, we can actually make a bit of a friendship and hang out IRL rather than just, hey, your signal's good here, thanks for the contact, bye. Which is what a lot of that kind of long-distance DX stuff is. It's just whack-a-mole Pokemon, and it's not that entertaining, so. I think I'm getting about winded. I've run my mouth a whole lot, and we've gone for 2.5 hours today, which is way longer than I expected. I expected to totally peter out after like 90 minutes. So we're going to roll here in a little bit. Like to thank everybody for hopping on and like tuning in. We're going to keep building and refining things and making things look better, sound better. Definitely, if you haven't followed the channel, do follow, because this will be like that'll be the primary way that you know that I'm on. We're going to shoot for like 3 p.m. Mountain Time. I am in Denver, if everybody doesn't know. 3 p.m.-ish Mountain Time on Saturdays. We'll go for a few hours. And then Wednesday nights, about 7 p.m. local time, we're going to go for a different session because there's different bands active and different activities to do and stuff like that. So that's going to be my initial schedule. We'll try it for a month, see what the reaction's like, and then we'll go from there. Still don't have a sign-off message. I guess I can say 73 to everybody. It's been great fun, and we're going to go ahead and have this archive up, not only on YouTube, but also we got Twitch recording set up, so it will be on Twitch for you to like scroll back and check later on. So thanks for joining the Mattyzcast. We've actually branded it. It's Matty Z, not Matty Z now. And we will see you in a few days. And thanks for tuning in. Everybody have a whole bunch of fun, and if you have any questions or anything, feel free to hit me up. You know, I'll be happy to help you get into the hobby, answer any like questions you may have. No question is too stupid. So 73, take care, and we'll see you next time.